All right, all right, all right. Three, two, one. Are we going live, ladies and gentlemen? Yes, we are. Boys and girls, children of all ages, we are officially live. Hopefully, my audio is working out. But how's it going, everyone, on this lovely Sunday, this Sunday evening? Or maybe it's Sunday morning for you. Or maybe it's not Sunday at all anymore. It's obviously Griever back here once again. We have a bit of an exciting, I hope. We're going to be talking some Jujutsu Kaisen, as you guys can tell from, well, the title, the whole layout, the whole bit. We've also invited a good friend and fellow YouTuber, Miss Content, to join us and stuff to sort of, go off of each other sort of idea on topics and discussions and just, get some general feedback and see where we're standing. This will also be spoiler warning ahead. Big spoilers. I did put post chapter 251 in the title, but here is your, here is your spoiler warning. So if you are not caught up to the manga, do not do not come crying to me, okay? But yeah, so I have a small, basically very generic list for Misk and I to go over. Misk did invite a few people, I think, whether they're going to make it or not. We'll just have to wait and see. But my first question to pose to you guys, right out of the gate, is we just wait, we're chilling. We're just waiting to see, as the stream starts sort of idea. Is there anything specific, any topics or any theories or anything that you guys want us to bring up or discuss or talk about? Definitely put it in the live chat and we will certainly get to it. I'm not nearly big enough or popular enough to miss anything going on in the chat. So we're all good when it comes to that. Now, what else was there to cover before we really get underway with it? There is going to be an audio check. I think I figured out a way to get away because my headphones are broken, so I don't have the ability to get rid of that weird echo effect with a mic and desktop audio at the same time. But I think I found a way with the Discord overlay to only have the audio for Discord. I'll be able to hear, but it should, at the very least, that echo effect that I get when I have people join me. Normally I have the headphones, but I still don't have a new pair that can fit in these ones. So we're going to be doing some audio checks once Miss gets in here and stuff like that, and anybody else who's planning on joining. But I do have a generic list of topics. There is a generic list of topics and stuff like that. There is, overall the series, how much longer do you think it's going to go on? Anything that you've been disappointed in lately? What do you rank the series overall? Stuff like that. What's been going on? Not so much this year because we're only into February, but what's really been going on in this big section of the fight and stuff like that that's been happening lately? Like, is there things you didn't like? Is there a pacing problem? Stuff like that. Or is there things that you think are just getting better? Like, do you think that the fight, started off slow but has gotten way better or something like that, So I have some generic topics we're going to go over and stuff like that. And there is one thing I wanted to discuss so that nobody thinks I'm being hypocritical here going forward, but we'll get to that in a little bit because I did say before I dropped the series for YouTube, by the way, I always said that I'd probably pick it up off and on, and I did. I didn't read a few chapters, and then I was told by Misk and other people, like, hey, maybe you should catch up because this latest chapter is pretty cool or something like that, and then I would do that on my own time. But I did say that I was going to drop it, and when you drop something, it's not like, okay, you jump back in and stuff like that, right? So, but anyways, it looks like Misk has joined us, so we're going to just do some audio tests. We're going to do some audio tests, I guess. Let's see. Boom, boom, boom. Let's unmute there. Hello, Misk.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, good, 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 my... Good, good, good. How are you doing?
I'm doing quite all right myself. It's been a dreary day, but it's a Sunday, so I don't care very much. I woke up to it raining and being cloudy, and that's usually very relaxing, so I'm not complaining in the slightest.
I see. I see. Well, that's certainly good. We just got to go through some audio checks. I'm trying to get rid of that buffering thing, but I don't think it's going to work.
You got some buffering going on?
Well, not buffering. That echo effect that seems to happen on my streams when I don't have my headphones in, but my headphones are broken. So
I see.
Yeah.
In that case, if it's something being picked up through OBS, you
Yep.
would probably either OBS or just in your actual mic settings, you
Mhm.
probably want to turn down the mic sensitivity.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'll try that. Yeah, because what I was trying to do was in OBS use the browser source and say, hey, take this audio, but I'm not picking you up when you're talking from the.
Right.
So I have to use desktop audio, right? So it's coming through there. But yeah, let me just check that really quick. That's not a bad idea. Let's see. Properties on my. Oh, well, that's just that.
Yeah, because I can hear myself a little bit through Discord. So on Discord, if you went and changed the sensitivity, it would work there. But
Okay.
with this, it's probably something you want to do with either OBS or your computer's microphone settings.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go into my computer's mic settings, I think, because 2 apps are using your microphone. Yeah, sure, whatever. But let's open it up and change it in the... Yeah, because I think I always get an echo effect because it's picking up... Because it's... Yeah, as you said, it just picks up whatever, right? Where's the settings on it, though? Huh, that's weird. I don't see the settings for that. Isn't that odd? Okay, if the speakers... Well, that's the speaker settings. Where's my damn blue snowball? Isn't this... It's always fun to do that, but I just realized that the last couple times I've done streams, which I haven't done very many lately, that it's been very echoey for people, or that's what I'm picking up. So
I see.
I wonder if
Alternatively, I suppose maybe just like turning... Oh, I don't hear it now, which is good. Alternatively, I do believe just like turning down your computer's volume a little bit would maybe make it so that your mic doesn't pick it up. I'm not sure. You have the Blue Yeti orb, right?
Yeah, I have the Blue Yeti snowball, whatever. It's the round thing.
Yeah, I got something similar to that, though this one's directional.
Okay.
So I don't know if yours is like a directional mic or not.
Oh, it is. So I can turn it to face more closer to me and away from the speakers.
Yeah, that would probably help a bit. The only thing is, though, is I think the mic mostly filters sound through like voice recognition. So as long as it recognizes the sound coming out of your computer as a voice, it'll pick it up. I don't hear myself in your Discord for the most part right now.
Okay.
I don't know if the stream's picking it up.
Yeah. Let's see.
See, Top Hat would like to join the VC. I believe he needs a role to get in here, doesn't he?
Yes, he needs a role. Which we can get to in a moment. I just want to... I wonder if I open it myself and I just hit playback, just to see if I can hear an echo. I'll just open up my own stream for a second.
Okay.
And then that should be able to tell me, yeah, because I can't seem to find where my actual where my microphone settings are outside of OBS.
Let's see here. I'll go look around on my computer to try and find them.
Yeah. Because I just don't want to do a whole thing where everyone's hearing like a triple echo the whole time. That's just... No one's going to want to watch that.
No, that's very unpleasant. Which version of Windows do you use?
Good fucking question. What's the Windows 10?
Do you have Windows 11 or 10?
Sure.
I think. Okay, I wasn't sure because my PC I got back in like December, so it just came with Windows 11.
Okay. I'm not sure if mine automatically upgraded or not. Okay, so I'm just going to... Let's see if I can hear that.
Let's see here. Is it in advanced? Input devices.
I'm just going to mute myself for a second while I figure this.
Okay. I wasn't sure because my PC I got back in like December, so it just came with Windows 11.
Ah, okay. I'm not sure if mine automatically upgraded or not. Okay, well, I just hit a playback and you sound fine. I'm not getting any echo. I turned the speakers like away from the microphone and stuff, and at least
Mm-hmm.
right now it seems to be all good.
Okay,
So,
then yeah, that's a simple solution.
yeah, so I think it's just because the Blue products are such like they pick up great sound and stuff like that. I think that that's the problem when you get a too high quality of a mic and you don't have the proper audio setup. It's like, hey, we can't help that we're really good, you know. But anyways, okay. So Top Hat would like to join, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Da, 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 da. How do I do that again? Top Hat. Just got to give him a role. Apps, blah blah blah. Roles. Yeah, we'll just give you which role is it that gets you in here?
Let's see. Permissions. Lions.
Lions. Okay. There we go. All right, Top Hat. You should be good to join. All right. So yeah. As I said at the beginning of the stream, everybody, what we're going to be doing is we're going to cover a number of just, pretty generic topics, but we're also going to be, mostly here at the start, we're going to be discussing the latest chapters and the latest sort of fights and stuff like that. First, before we even get into that, now that Misk is here, I wanted to mention something that's kind of hypocritical, because when I dropped the series, I said basically when you drop something, you don't come back just because things are picking up again. You don't just come back because Goku gets a new Super Saiyan form and you've been shitting on the series for a year, and once he gets a new form, hey, it's popular, I'm doing it for the views, right?
Right.
The reason I'm doing this one is not because I'm going back on my word. I'm still not reviewing the series or anything like that. This was more of I've had at least a few people, both DMs, YouTube comments, Discord and stuff. I've had, for all I know, it's all the same person with, 4 or 5 different users. But asking for a little bit more, like missing the Jujutsu Kaisen content. What do I think about Utah in the latest chapters? How do I think the fight's going? That kind of stuff. I'm still getting questions about that, and I have no problem answering them. Because I am on my own time been keeping up with the series. But the reason I'm also getting Misk in here on this and opening up for a general discussion is for the sole purpose that it's not like I'm just solely making this. It's like, no, this is sort of a collab thing. If Misk were to do one of these on his channel, I would still join, so it's all good. So I'm sort of skirting the hypocrisy of it all, saying, nope, no more Jujutsu Kaisen content. So, but yeah, so I don't really think this counts. This is just more of it's been a while, it's not like, I'm not reviewing the chapters again or reacting to them or anything like that. So I think it's all good, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we covered that. I believe Top Hat's in here. Hi, Top Hat. How you doing?
Good evening.
All right. So first things first. Okay, if anybody wants to open with anything, we'll start with Misk, and then Top Hat, you can go. First and foremost, are you liking the fight so far? Like from the beginning, but all the way through, like the way the fight has evolved as of chapter 251. Do you think that the fight has gotten better, more hype, or has it is it too long? Has the pacing gone? Any initial thoughts currently as of the last?
I would say it's been progressing along quite nicely. I think this is the final battle.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense for it to be long, especially given how, as is per usual with JJK, the fight isn't the MC just becomes stronger than the main antagonist and beats them. Mm-hmm. It's the villain is much stronger than all of us individually, so we have to work collectively and use all of our abilities with the most effective synergy possible to do our best to beat them. And so that's just kind of been what's happening, and it's been very good in my opinion.
Excellent. Uh, Top Hat, what's your opinion as of the latest chapter and how the fight's been progressing?
When you say fight, you mean just fighting Sukuna overall from Gojo up to this point, right?
Yeah, pretty much. More so ever since Gojo was killed, quote unquote. Because there's still a lot of cope in the in the community about what's happening there. But basically since Gojo died till now, how is the fight? Do you feel like it's is the pacing still good? Are you still invested? Are you liking all the new developments with Yuta's domain expansion, stuff like that? Sukuna using his slashes, Hollow Witch, just anything initially on your mind about it.
I wish the Higuruma portion had been a bit longer and not interrupted by the Takaba skit. I guess I can call it a skit, all things considered.
Sure.
And apart from that, I would just say that there's been a lot of like, oh, you didn't know about this detail? I'm telling it to you now because it's the only time that it will be relevant for stuff about like Hollow Basket and other details. And I kind of wish some small things were given more time or would not be introduced, just right now. But apart from that, I'm chilled with it.
Okay. That's an excellent point. Because one of the big problems when a series is ending, and this happens for almost all mangas, both good and bad, and is that a lot of things that are sort of like, okay, they're not foreshadowed in the best way. They should have been brought up earlier in the series. Even if people forget, oh, this was something in chapter 2. It wasn't brought up for 200 chapters, but now it's become relevant again. Some people don't even like that, but at least it was mentioned before. So I do get that. But I also think that one thing that I can praise the way this fight is going to sort of push back against that slightly is the idea that just like when it started with Gojo Sukuna, this has been we're going into the realms of unpredictability. We're going to a point where it's like we don't know if we can do this yet because we've never had to. We've never been pushed this far. So they're sort of experimenting, with good hypothesis, but it's like we're in unknown territory right now. So some of it's not so egregious to me and stuff like that, but definitely. I can agree there are a few small things like that. What I like in the current aspect of the fight, and I was asking for this for a while. A lot of people predicted it, but the way the direction was going, a lot of people thought it wasn't going to happen. I like the fact that the two main characters, Yuta and Yuji, are solely fight. How we got here might be a little bit like, I really like the Higuruma stuff, and I wish that had gone a little further on because I am curious, would the Executioner's Sword would it have worked? Would that have just one-shotted Sukuna? We really don't have an answer for that. I think it would have worked, but the fact that we got close and I don't know. But I like the fact that there are two main characters, Yuta and Yuji, are solely working together, and it's not as a collective battle. Like, it's not like 6 people are involved right now. It's been Yuta and Yuji sort of working together as the two, driving forces. That's been really cool, and I was sort of hoping for that for a long time. Well before this fight even started, I thought that's the way, but everyone said, oh, Yuta's got to fight Kenjaku, and, stuff like that. So Sukuna's not his problem in that sense and stuff, and I was like, yeah. But I definitely like that direction and stuff. So, okay, so we're all seemingly think that the fight's going pretty well and stuff like that. I guess my next thing is in the current chapters is what do you think of Yuta's domain expansion, and are you for it, against it? Is it overpowered? Any thoughts on Yuta? Finally, now that we have the reveal that for some reason the community was trolling, I guess, saying, oh, Yuta was just saying domain expansion that 3-way. He doesn't actually have one. He was bluffing.
It was so funny. I love random slander bullshit. It's so funny.
Yeah.
It's just they just take a random thing and they're like, fuck it, we're gonna go with this for the next week or two.
Yeah. Oh, the agendas against Yuta. I mean, people called me a Yuji hater and despised me when I just was like, yeah, Yuji, you're not my guy. But the amount of Yuta slander that comes from nowhere is just hilarious to me. As you said, sometimes you just got to sit back and almost laugh at it, you know?
The best one from last week was, it was like, fact, Yuta is so delusional that Sukuna felt bad and hit himself with his own cleave.
Oh,
That
really?
one was so funny.
Oh, man. Yeah.
It was fucking hilarious.
Yeah. That's just... Oh, yeah. And so many people right now being like, Yuta's dead. Yuta's dead. You know, a lot of people saying that right now and stuff. And I don't think he is, but...
I think,
I
Yuta...
think he is.
Yeah?
He may be dead, but we've kind of established that characters can kind of have like a window of revival depending on what happens. So, and also, however, Rika is still going to work, because we do see Rika also got like cut the fuck up at the end of the chapter. But, you know, depending on what happens with her in the ring, I still think there's an out. I think there's still a way for Yuta to survive this. I just don't know how much he's still going to remain involved in the remainder of the fight.
Right, because you want, basically right now with Maki showing up at the end, we knew that was going to happen. Everyone predicted that, but the idea that, keeping the domain up right now is, like, a vital thing. So I think, and the fact that, okay, I know Yuta was, like, one step closer, but the way the paneling works, it looks like Yuta took the brunt of it, and Yuji and Rika, who are literally, like, an arm's length in the distance, they didn't get completely cut in half. They only got the little scratches.
Well, the thing that came with them is that they looked like they got hit with a bunch of slashes. So what I thought happened was, because of how they were grabbed onto him, is Yuta got hit with the big dismantle, and those two just got hit with cleave.
Oh, maybe that could be the
To
case.
be fair, usually cleave is considered the most deadly of the two, so just saying just hit with cleave is kind of funny.
Yeah, being able to say just hit with cleave kind of really puts things in context.
That is true. So, anyways, yeah. So Yuta's domain. What do you think of it? We'll go in order again. Misk, you're up.
I really like it. I think it's really cool. The visuals are neat. I like the way that his copying ability is implemented. The name I'm not crazy on. I'm not a big fan of either translation of it.
No.
Given how it works by basically just removing the conditions for his copying power, I thought it would be so obvious and a good choice to just call it unconditional love.
My first, when the leaks came out and it was still being translated, that's one of the things that the Twitter post said. It was called unconditional love before it got the TCB stuff, and they changed it, and I was like, but why? That's perfect. Unconditional love makes so much sense. It's a perfect
All the other
title.
ones are, they're too much of a mouthful. They're just really awkward names. My headcanon name for it will always be that, because I just think it's better.
And the whole thing is that the barrier is the wedding knots. So the tighter you pull on it, the stronger the knot becomes, right? So like that whole idea, it just works perfectly with it being Rika and the ring and then the whole bit. It works so well. Now people, they're just gonna turn face and say simp, but I think it's great, and I love the idea. See, I misunderstood it first. I thought each sword, it had a copied ability, but he could only use it once, the way I read it the first time. But then he used Thin Icebreaker more than once. So it's like, so there's multiple swords with cleave. There's multiple swords with, this, that, the other thing. My one question is, because he used the barrier side, the sure hit, as Jacob's Ladder, can he pull a sword with Jacob's Ladder still? Or because that's his sure hit, he can't pull that sword? Like,
if I had to guess, the sure hit one, you remove it from the pool as a trade-off.
That's
that
what I'm
be the trade-off,
gathering.
I imagine.
Yeah. But anyways, we'll get into the Jacob's Ladder thing, because I do have a question about that. But, so Top Hat, what do you think of Yuta's domain? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Indifferent?
Both for my own personal agenda, as well as the social media conversation on the subject, it should instead be called Totally Not Unlimited Blade Works #trademark.
Yeah, of course.
I'm sorry, I have to do it. I'm sorry, I am legally obligated to mention this.
I mean, people saw it and they went, "Oh, it's Unlimited Blade Works." It fucking looks the same.
You posted a GIF.
Yeah, the GIF. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like, that's what
So
it is.
actually, my first thought when I first saw it was actually Ichigo's training in Bleach in the Soul Society arc.
Yeah,
That too.
You know, since there's so much heavy inspiration from Fate and Bleach and like a lot of other things, but since I know that one of the big factors was Kubo's work, I was like, we're doing Ichigo's training, but we're making it a move this time. You know, like okay, whatever, it works.
Yeah. To be fair, there is like, okay, this is something that happens sometime with some works in Japanese, where like the name of an ability will have like it written in one dictionary or one alphabet, because the Japanese use 3 alphabets, I believe, and there will be a second name in a different alphabet. And I think this is something that I saw someone mention, where apparently the domain, Yuta's domain, has a second name, which is something about like truths and falsehoods, or like fakes and real things, which to me, if you know anything about Unlimited Blade Works, I looked at that and just laughed. I'm like, that's such a goddamn meme. Because that's literally like a massive thing when Unlimited Blade Works gets used. It's just the theme of fakes versus the original, so I just found it funny. If it's true, it is fucking funny to me.
Which is quite actually, when you bring that up, the fake versus the original, it's so funny because we don't, not that we can confirm this for every move and stuff like that, but Yuta can actually copy moves and use them better or more effectively than the original users. Just look no further than Cursed Speech. He has used that with no drawbacks, and the one he took it from always has a drawback after using one word, you know? And it's like, okay.
I'm not sure if that's ever been confirmed or is just like speculation, but I think if you use it on someone that is significantly stronger than you, that's where you get most of the blowback. But because Yuta is as strong as he is, so he's basically built different compared to Uzumaki.
Because I remember missed your reaction to that. You mentioned that when I was watching your reaction video, and you said, "Oh, Yuta used Cursed Speech. Is he gonna like combust from using that on Sukuna?" It was like, oh, is there a drawback? But apparently not. But yeah.
With in the Hanami fight, when Inumaki's using it, they explain that the stronger the opponent, the stronger the the recoil is, which is why you can say things like "stop" and it work fine. And that's why you can't say things like "explode" to someone that powerful, because the recoil there would be really strong. And I saw someone on Twitter ask like, why didn't Yuta use Cursed Speech to tell Sukuna to just put all of his hands up and he let go of the Hollow Wicker Basket? Why didn't he tell him to do that? It's because, well, telling Sukuna to just not move is nowhere near as high of a demand as telling him to move against his will.
Yeah.
If he tried to do the latter of those two, I imagine the recoil would be pretty significant.
And even, let's say he could pull it off, but as we've been discussing, we don't know the extent, like how far could Yuta's very powerful, but how far could he use Cursed Speech to manipulate Sukuna? And right now, they are in, as I said at the beginning, uncharted territory in this fight, but one mistake, one gamble that goes wrong could spell disaster for the whole plan. So Yuta's probably betting on he probably, as you said, I'm pretty sure I can use stop and this and this. Could I make him say stop using Hollow Wicker Basket? I don't know. Will it work? Will it not? So he's not gambling with it, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? He's like, no, we'll use it to our advantage, but I'm not going to overestimate my abilities versus his, because we don't know if it'll work, you know? So
I just thought of something, and it's kind of funny to me, but it's kind of stupid as well. You mind if I say it on that subject?
Sure.
Sorry. Like if he just says hands up, and it's the wrong pair of hands, and it's like, loophole, bitch!
You didn't specify what hand. So it'd have to be like, put all of your hands up.
Yeah, put all your hands up. Yeah, but then, now he's got to control 4 limbs, you know? Like,
yeah, and the command's more complicated.
Yep. So, I mean, yeah, there is something to be said for that. But yeah, so I love Yuta's domain. I knew it would have something to do with copy, obviously, and stuff like that. I laughed at how speculated it was, what is Yuta's real technique and stuff. And I remember a popular theory being that Yuta's ability wasn't actually copy. That was more Rika, that he was actually just naturally gifted. His technique is reverse curse technique. That's why he's so fucking good at it. I didn't mind that as a theory for the longest time, that he's literally the embodiment of RCT. I was like, all right, that kind of works too.
But then we got Hikari doing it as his domain gimmick. So
right,
like,
and then it was like, okay, that's falling off now, right? So it's like, all right, and then it's like, all right. So I like that after all this time, it sort of reminded me of that Oda basically forgot that he didn't mention what Kid's devil fruit name was, and right here in basically the middle of the fight, we're finally like, yeah, so Yuta's ability is copy. Sukuna's basically, yeah, his ability is copy. Oh, finally, we get confirmation of that, because it was still kind of up in the air. Is that part of Rika? Is that because of the ring? Is that really his technique? Yeah, it's copy. It's like, okay.
On the domain itself, since you also asked me the opinion on the domain itself, I'm actually in the minority, and this is because like I tend to be a hyper analytical, because my brain just starts thinking about breaking down and analyzing things when I have nothing to do. It just starts doing that. In my opinion, it's actually not that strong as a domain when you like compare it to others, and I know this is gonna sound completely blasphemous, but like, for example, like Yuta, and this is also similar, for example, to Dagon, after you open your domain, the technique doesn't immediately hit. That's kind of like why Mahito can like talk to Mekamaru or Hanami before killing them. Now, Gojo and Mahito, they're good enough to just go, open domain, immediately hit. But like, for Yuta, for example, you see that even after like a few seconds after Sukuna is being immobilized, he has to like take the stance that he used to open the domain and then go maximum output to actually hit with a sure hit. Like, it's not, oh, you don't have your hands, you're not using Hollow Wicker Basket, you immediately get hit.
Oh, well,
like, he has to manually force the technique to happen.
I think in that case, it was just him making the choice to do that to amp the power.
Yeah, he did that, because Jacob's Ladder was going to hit the moment he dropped Hollow Wicker Basket, because that's the technique he gave up to be a sure hit. So if Sukuna stops using Hollow Wicker Basket, Jacob's Ladder's sure hit is going to not kill him, but it's going to hit him. Yuta chose to, all right, maximum output on that bitch. If it's gonna hit him, we're gonna make sure it hits him as hard as possible, right? So it still would have hit, it just wouldn't have been maximum output, I think. Yeah, so I'm with Misk on that one specifically. But
watching the anime last year with people who were watching the series for the first time, you know, they hadn't read the manga or anything, was really interesting, because it's basically things were being repeated to them about like providing information, you know, showing your hand and shit like that. What was the one that I was specifically reminded of was when Megumi summons Maharaga for the first time, and before he does it, he explains his entire technique to Haruta, and I was like, oh my god, I never picked up on the fact that he's amping the technique right now. So now in hindsight, every time a character does a fucking hand sign, every time they say the name of the technique before they use it, that's them boosting the power of it.
They are.
You know, like when Dagon's in his domain and he does the fucking hand signs, whenever he says the name of Death Swarm, that's him making it stronger than it would be normally with just the sure hit. So that's just what Yuta's doing here with Jacob's Ladder.
Which is also hilarious to me that Gege, for all his, great ideas or faults or whatever, is that he loves things like Bleach so much, but he found an in-universe way to basically say, okay, there's a reason characters explain and monologue their fucking powers.
That's one of my favorite things. That when I read the series for the first time was one of my favorite little meta things. Is just like, oh my god, we have an actual reason for characters to monologue about their abilities without just coming off as fucking morons.
Yeah, because it's like, why would you explain so many fights in not just Bleach, but so many things in so many different mangas, especially currently, is because the opponent knows about the ability, and it's like, but why would you tell them? If you didn't tell them, you would have won. You know, it's like.
That actually makes me think of something in a bit of a meme format, ever so slightly, which is, explaining your technique is just doing a longer chant, like just how you use chants to boost it. It's just, in a way, it's kind of just a longer chant, but instead of being cryptic words, you're just actually saying what it does.
Yeah, in a sense, it's basically what it's doing. Kimono says, I feel like Sukuna is about to gut Maki like a fish. I don't know.
Please, yes.
I mean, honestly, I like the stab because once again, Maki has the Tetsaiga now, and yes, I'm gonna keep calling it the Tetsaiga. The thing's totally the Tetsaiga. The Tetsaiga is, I mean, in JJK it might not be as powerful, but that is a busted ass sword. Okay, so yeah, I don't know about that. And what is he gonna use to gut her like a fish? He doesn't have a sword, you know. So.
He is already the bone of his sword.
He brings her into the kitchen with his cutting techniques, and he can. But yeah, when it comes to that stab, especially depending on how the sword works.
Yeah, we still don't really know how that sword fully works, do we?
If it's doing soul damage, I question how much he can heal from that. But like after stabbing the guy through like the center of his torso, all Maki has to do is just like cut downwards to the side. Yeah, cut up. The angle the sword's in there, she can't really cut up. So if she like twists it and goes up, that would work. However Sukuna moves, as long as Maki is intelligent about the way that she removes the sword from his body, that's gonna do like an insane amount of damage to him.
That's
Can I just make a slight speculation?
Sure.
Like the way that he can like shapeshift, like when he bit Angel, and which you could potentially argue is also like soul shapeshifting in a way. I do wonder if the guy can just pull a move out of like Aokiji Kuzan's playbook and just go, you stabbed me in the chest with your sure kill attack, but I broke before you just hit me.
I don't think it's quite that, because we can see the blood on the sword.
Yeah, we see the blood, and Sukuna didn't know. Yeah.
I'm fairly confident the degree of shape-shifting Sukuna was able to do before was largely because of the fact that he wasn't fully incarnated.
Yeah, because we haven't seen him really do it since.
So now that he's fully here, I don't think he can really alter his shape much anymore.
Yeah. One thing that I found very confusing, actually, about the latest chapter or what have you, is the whole idea that, first off, it was like super epic that it's like, yes, I finally got the cleave sword. Uses cleave and does surface level damage. It didn't really do anything.
Yeah.
And I was like, Sukuna was like, God damn it. And Yuta was like, yes, this is the technique. I'm like, then Icebreaker did more than this. What was so great about cleave, you using cleave?
I think it was mostly just really it took him off guard. Like he didn't expect that to happen.
But the other thing that I sort of didn't...
I have an idea. I have an idea as for why that happened.
Okay.
Sorry. Sorry, was that rude of me? I apologize.
No.
I'm still getting the tempo. I'm still getting the tempo. Like, maybe it's the whole thing was like, oh, you're not actually grabbing the sword, you're like doing chainsaw blades in between, and that's like, yeah, that doesn't really count as properly touching you, so the effect was like very diminished. That could be a thing, hypothetically.
Could be.
Because I was wondering how it was working if Sukuna, unless he stopped doing it for some reason, is like, well, he's not actually touching my sword, so I was like, then how are you using cleave on him, at least at the end of the last chapter? Unless he just stopped using it, that specific application.
I'm not really sure how cleave affects in that regard, but the other thing that I didn't, or it's not that I don't like it, but I sort of don't get, we're still in murky waters or very gray area how Yuta copies. Because it's implied very heavily in the chapter that Sukuna, basically Yuta ate the other finger and or used the finger to copy cleave and therefore probably dismantle as well. But I'm like, okay, but he's never had to eat part of Inumaki to get cursed speech. He never had to eat Uru. So I don't understand, like, you're telling me that... My only reason that I think that they brought up the finger and used the finger is not that he couldn't copy by watching Gojo and Sukuna fight, that he wasn't copying all those abilities, right? Because even Sukuna brought up, like, is he going to use Infinity? But he can't use Infinity without the Six Eyes. So can he copy the Six Eyes? Nah, he shouldn't be able to do that. And then he surprises him with Cleave. My whole thing is, they were basically like, okay, for insurance, let's say for some stupid reason Sukuna doesn't use his curse techniques, in the Gojo fight for whatever reason. We need you to make sure you've copied as many techniques as possible. So the fact that they had the finger and Yuta was able to use that to copy the technique somehow, that's my only reason they used the finger, because he met Uro once. They fought for a little bit, and he was able to use the technique. It's part of his domain. So I'm like,
some people think that basically Rika has to eat part of a person because, as Jabba brings up, Rika ate Uro's arm. But I'm pretty sure that was just to like get it away from her and stop her from trying to use.
Yeah, I don't buy that, because Rika never ate a part of Inumaki.
Yeah.
The icebreaker,
He didn't fucking eat part of Charles when he used his technique in the previous chapter.
Right.
So what I think it is.
Hair? Pretty sure it's just hair, technically.
I mean, I suppose you could, but like we don't have enough evidence of that. Just because we saw do it one time.
We haven't gotten the explanation from Yuta yet as to how his technique fully works. The reason people think it's the eating of the arm was just because in the fight, Ryu went, you can copy techniques. There's no fucking way you can just do that without some kind of condition needing to be met. What is the condition? Was it that? Because he can't fathom that being a thing someone can do.
Yeah, he's got to be able to like see it or what have you. But once again, in JJK 0, we never saw any indication that he ate some of Inumaki's hair, and then he was able to,
What I think is he just has to make physical contact with them at some point, and that's what he did. He made physical contact with the finger.
Yeah, because
Sorry, Griever, go and then tell me when I can.
So that's not a bad. That's, as I said, I really like the technique. At the main point of this is that I love the domain. I think the domain works really well. I like Yuta's ability, and Rio wasn't wrong where he basically said like, all right, there's got to be a reason, but as the explanation, sometimes the easiest explanation is the simplest. It's like, Yuta's just that fucking good. It's like Gojo, born with the 6 eyes. It's like, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just that awesome. It's like, no, I don't need some crazy binding vow abilities and stuff. I was born as a badass. I have basically the most amount of cursed energy of anybody, and my technique is just pretty broken because I have so much cursed energy. Because I like to think, if he didn't have, we don't know this, but I would argue that just like how the 6 eyes infinity stuff works, I'd like to say that had Yuta been born with just a regular amount or an average amount of cursed energy, he wouldn't be able to use his domain or copy nearly as effectively. That copy probably takes a huge toll on his cursed energy and his output, but because it's such a huge pool's worth of it, it seems like he's doing it so much. But like, he probably wouldn't be able to use sword after sword after sword like he's been doing if he didn't have so much cursed energy. Not that that's been confirmed, that's just speculation on my side, but I do think there is a correlation between his ability being as strong as it is being related to that. I mean, but yeah, so anyways, so the next thing, now that we've basically covered those couple of average things, is knowing that the pacing of the fight and how it's been going and stuff. This Miss, you already brought up that this is basically the end of the series and stuff. Do you think it's going to end this year, Jujutsu Kaisen?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident we're ending this year. Gege said he's probably not going to be at the Big Jump Expo next year. Or, JJK is not going to be at it next year.
Right.
So, and I'm like, I know there are some people that are like, oh yeah, after this is the merger. And I'm like, listen, if they beat Sukuna, the fucking merger isn't happening. It's not happening. That's basically like what's the big extra threat outside of people dying? It's just, Sukuna decides to make the apocalypse monster so that he has another thing to fight. That's the big looming threat. That's the reason we have to beat him. When Sukuna is beaten, that's just not going to happen anymore. So there's not really anything else left after this. You guys defeated the strongest sorcerer of all time, you beat the main villain, and then the series is over.
Yeah, I agree. Anything to add on that, Top Hat? Do you think it's going to end this year?
I would be surprised if it goes into August, I'll be honest.
Okay.
Like, I don't think it's going even that long. And the thing about, like, the merger or, like, the final thing, it does depend on if Gege has changed his mind on a few things, but he did say that, like, Sukuna wanted Megumi Stand Shadows because it would allow him to create his ideal world. He did say that in some interview. So the one thing I can think is, like, maybe Ten Shadows has good synchronicity with the merger somehow, or Sukuna, his backup plan is just gonna, like, I'm just gonna make unlimited Shikigami to make an infinite hell world where we're all fighting. That could be his endgame, assuming that Gege hasn't changed his mind and just said, fuck that, let's go with the merger plan.
It's fair. It's fair. I was never a huge fan of the merger plan anyways. I felt like that was just... It's been done enough in more like Power Rangers, Super Sentai, more kids shows and stuff than most things. Like, oh, we're going to combine everyone into a major fusion to make the ultimate bad and stuff. It's been done a little too much for me, so I liked the idea of the, like, where it's right now with the Sukuna fight and stuff. Really quick, let's see. So Jobber says that he ate Uro's arm. Yeah. Sukuna Pro says, where you go, I go. Jobber said Yuta's copy was unconditional in Zero, as stated by Kenny. Well, considering that Kenjaku was not in Volume 0, I find that hard to believe, but okay. Do you remember Kenjaku in Volume 0, Miss? I don't.
No, though he, I think he is able to get some information from the body that he inhabits. But, you know,
yeah,
I don't know how much Geto understood Yuta's ability either.
Yeah, I don't know either. And Sukun Pro said so. Jobber said Yuta only starts using sky manipulation once Rika ate arrows. See, that's the only reason, that's the only evidence people have, is that, oh, well, he didn't use the ability before that, so clearly that was the reason or something like that. I mean, as I said, that would be... I don't really care if that's the case. If he needed to, I ate it. But once again, the one big problem that I have with the whole Rika's got to eat a part of it, or Yuta has to eat, you know, even a piece of hair or a fingernail or whatever. My problem with that is he didn't even know in Volume 0. He had no idea about his ability. He was still just trying to control Rika. He didn't have any idea. What would lead any of them to believe that, okay, Inumaki, give me some of your hair? You know, what before the confrontation at the end of 0, before he used cursed speech, would he ever have said, hey, feed some of your hair to Rika? That's a great idea. You know? So, with no prior knowledge of how... We know he's learned... since Volume 0 to the current storyline, probably the conditions, if there are any, and stuff like that. But there's no evidence, considering he wanted nothing to do with it. He was just trying to keep Rika from killing people. Right. Who would say, hey, I'm going to eat some of your guys' hair today? I just think it's got something to do with cursed energy. I don't know. You know, that makes no fucking sense. So I'm just not buying that. But, I mean,
you know. One suggestion on the subject, on that very specific thing that you just mentioned. It's just the whole thing of, like, Gojo looks at you and he already knows a lot of the inner workings of your technique. Like, he looks at Bagman and he knows exactly, like, how the power is split among the bodies. So maybe, since Gojo's his teacher, he could have just looked at him as like, oh yeah, just eat some fingernails.
Yeah, but I think it would have been brought up at the time. Or if it wasn't, then it's a bit of a retcon from... which, once again, they happen in long series, but that'd be a bit of a retcon from Gege, because it would feel like, okay, that was kind of important to know since the beginning, that's how his technique worked. To shoehorn it in now feels a little... like, say, oh, yeah, we totally showed that and stuff. And the fact that Yuta didn't confirm or deny anything, even in that fight after Rika ate Uro's arm, I think that would have been the opportunity, if that was the case, and Gege thought of it by then and said, yeah, this is what we're going to do. I think it would have been, like, Yuta would have just needed one little speech bubble or something. He would have explained it then. That would have been the perfect opportunity to say, yeah, it took me a while to figure it out, but Rika just needs to consume even one fingernail and boom, I've got it, you know? Like, it would have been easy to explain at that time. So
I do have a slight comment
mm-hmm.
on that thing. Is like, I think this has been around for a while, but people have been reposting on Twitter the last few days, and I even like print screened it here. Is like, and people were roasting Gege for this, but he's like said in interviews that he talks about his some of his influences and his inspirations, and then he says, I like how that specific inspiration of mine doesn't bother explaining a lot of shit. Like, of the plot and, like, mechanics and info dumping. I just like how it doesn't explain shit. It just gets right to
the problem with I'll push back against that, because there are two types of, well, there's more than that, but there's two major types of systems whenever you do fantasy settings or power systems. You have a soft, which is like Lord of the Rings, or you have a hard, which is more like Harry Potter and stuff, right? Or like Nen from Hunter x Hunter. The problem is, and it's one of my biggest complaints when I first read the series and stuff, is that this is borderline going like Nen style, right? There's a lot of rules, there's a lot of information. JJ's power system is not simple in any regard. So it's definitely a hard power system. So the fact of the matter is, if you make a hard power system like Nen or something, you have to explain it. You have to give us that information, because if you don't, then we call bullshit going, well, we never knew that they could pull that off. That makes no sense now. Like, you don't do a hard and a soft like that, because then you get the problems within the story and within the universe, you know? You can't all of a sudden say, okay, you must, chant to do this. You must, RCT works like this works like this, and have all these convoluted, here's how domains work, here's how sure hit works, here how all this stuff works. But now we're going to go soft magic system like Gandalf. Yeah, he can he can light fires and use fire, but not really. But we're leaving it ambiguous. You can't have ambiguousness or gray areas when you do hard power systems. You imagine if you did that in Hunter x Hunter, where you had Nen, but you didn't explain half of Nen. Holy shit, what a shit show that would be, So... I do have that issue with that explanation. Like, it's like, okay, he doesn't need to explain everything, but when it comes to the power system, he can leave it vague. Like, right now, we still don't know the conditions for Yuta's copy, and if we never know, we can simply make assumptions, but if he's going to eventually confirm or deny it, there was already opportunities to do so, I guess. You can leave things ambiguous, because we know he can copy. We don't know the full conditions, but as long as when he brings it up, it never goes against anything we've seen in the series, then it's okay. But why wouldn't he have brought it up by this point? It's just kind of like, unless, once again, going back to the Oda explanation, that I forgot to tell you guys the name of Kid's Devil Fruit. I thought I did that chapters and chapters ago. I'm sorry.
I thought I did that 10 years ago.
Yeah. Once again, mangakas do make mistakes, and they make mistakes all the damn time. It doesn't mean their story automatically sucks as a result. It doesn't mean that they're stupid or anything. People just make mistakes, with long-running series. And especially for the poor guy who's wanted to end this series since last year, since a year before last year, So, and I don't find it as rushed as it was.
No,
I thought he wanted to end it in Shibuya. I thought he wanted to end it around the time of Shibuya, like a little bit after. I heard a few things.
He wanted to end it 1 year.
Much later than Shibuya.
Yeah, one year after Shibuya. He said I want to try to wrap this up when Shibuya ended. He was in an interview and he said that another year, and then I'd like it to be wrapped up by then. And that was at the end of the Shibuya arc, and it still went on for another few and stuff like that. And then there was those instances before this fight. My God, I made a video about that when I was still reading and reacting, and there was so much evidence of pacing and skipping shit, and just boom, boom, boom. I want this to be over. I want this to end. There was a lot of evidence of that. Then the pacing, when he started this fight, the pacing went back to normal week to week, I feel, but. Yeah, but that's because now it's the final fight, and in lieu of that, we can switch topics over to Kenjaku's untimely death, let's say. That was short and sweet.
So, yeah, how did you feel about that one? I read that, and I'm like, I wonder how Griever feels about Kenny really not getting plot armor here.
Well, in a sense, I don't love or hate that happened. I love the fact that... See, because it didn't really actually solve anything. So we had the whole Kenjaku thing, this Machiavellian schemer, compared to Aizen. I don't know why people do that, but because he's not really that crazy 4D chess, right? In my opinion. But
no, he's just a guy with a shitload of prep time.
Yeah, he's a guy. He's a kid who wants to play with the newest toys. You know, he's basically a child running around just doing shit. By his own admission, he does shit because he wants to see what's gonna happen. He's a bored child who wants to fucking, make interesting things happen, pretty much, right? Which works for him as the character in the story. But the fact is that I'm almost disappointed because anybody who was huge fans of, Sukuna might be the big bad with I punch things really hard, but Kenjaku's the three-dimensional villain. Kenjaku's the one that, what's he going to pull? Is he going to betray Sukuna? What's going to happen? He's the real final villain, the guy in the shadows, the puppet master. And he unceremoniously gets whacked. And not only that, whacked by the guy that everyone said, if you're a Kenjaku fan, you say Kenjaku beats Yuta. If you're a Yuta fan, you say Yuta beats Kenjaku. And now for not only Yuta to basically one and done him in 2 sword slashes, but to just do it, and then you had the whole sneak attack memes and all this crap, and it was just like, I don't know if, as I said, I don't love or hate it. I like that Yuta basically got the kill, but it wasn't in a straight up 1v1. So it doesn't confirm or deny anything. It doesn't prove who was stronger in the end, really. And it just, and for fans of Kenjaku, I feel bad for you.
I've seen some people over the last, basically since that chapter came out, who were really not super satisfied with the conclusion that he seemingly got.
I mean, the fight with what's his name was good, but outside of that, a lot of people hated that the comedy skit fight. But I'm like, but that's his power. That's the fun, So
the comedy skit fight. No offense to anyone, but I agree with the comment that it filtered millions of idiots and losers. People where that came up, where that happened, and they went, nah, I don't like the series anymore, I'm dropping it, and then stopped reading it, they got filtered. They couldn't see the vision of having the comedic relief character fight one of the main villains.
Yeah. I'll be I actually really liked the Takaba fight. I just didn't like where it was inserted necessarily, in between different events. But I really enjoyed the fight. I just utterly detest how Kenjaku went out. Unfortunately, I did hear that there was a issue with the paneling where it was not supposed to Yuta teleport behind him and then teleport again behind him. It was just supposed to be one thing, and there was some mishap. I heard that one time. To be fair, it is weird. The dude's crouching, and the guy turns around, and he immediately behind him also crouching, and I'm like, that the human body does not move like that. At least I don't feel like. And apart from that, I don't mind quick fights. I am actually not. I don't have a problem with how fast Kashimo went out. I do have an issue. For example, since it was also a quick fight, I do have an issue about some details that feel like it should have happened with the Kashimo fight. But okay, so TLDR, I don't mind quick fights, but I mind fights that don't satisfy me, even if they happen to be short. I don't mind a fight where it's like real life swordsmanship, with actual blades. It is very fast. Most fights will have, I don't know, a minute at most, a few seconds. So I don't mind quick fights. Just make it entertaining. If it's a few seconds of the fight, at least fill those seconds of action with panels of monologues to give it flavor or something.
Well, as far as the Takaba fight goes, I have no problem with it in that regard, because it was explained. Kenjaku himself was basically we were told that as the comedian, he was an anomaly. he was basically outside of power scaling because it wasn't something you could quantify like that. He is the Joker in a deck of cards. We were told that. So the fact that they utilized that to their advantage, and Kenjaku himself basically said, I've got to play along or I'm fucked. You know? So he had to work his ass off to do it, and then for Yuta to jump in and end it in a few seconds, from a realistic perspective, they got the one up on the plan.
Yeah.
The plan worked, you know. But we've seen many plans against, like the Kenjaku plan worked, but some of the plans against Sukuna did not. Gojo's gonna win. He didn't win. We'll use the Executioner's Sword. That didn't work. Now we're on to plan number 3, right? Like, they are trying multiple plans. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. It's just the fact that the Kenjaku one did happen to work out in their favor. And, you know, from a realistic perspective, okay, some plans are failing, but some are succeeding the first go around, you know? So I didn't really have much of a problem with that, and I liked the skits. I didn't get all the references, obviously, but...
Nah, because a lot of it was, you know, it was Japanese humor stuff.
Yeah, there was a lot of that, but I thought it was fine. I liked it and stuff like that. And I do think that using the Joker to take out the guy who, once again, a lot of people, I think, and this is from the power scaling side of things, I think they overhype Kenjaku. I really do. To a degree. I'm not saying he's not in the top 10 or anything like that. I'm saying that they overhype him as though the only one who could kill him is Sukuna, and that's just not the case. So the fact that some of the fanboys got a little humbled and stuff sort of made me a little happy, because I've seen a lot of people hate it because Kenjaku lost, not because of the shortness of the fight or the way the fight went. People hate it because Kenjaku lost so quickly and stuff. And I was like, well, he already had the major fight against Yuki, which, once again, that's the biggest pile of plot armor. Your villain already used his plot armor up. You know, he had a one use. He had a mulligan, okay?
I'm sorry, Kenjaku, you used your plot armor card already. You
Yes.
only get one.
You only get one.
No,
It's too bad.
I had the second one. It was like the 4 technique that Yuki was concerned about. He had another card, but unfortunately, Sukuna pickpocketed him and took his card.
Could be. Kimono says, by the way, who is Sukuna killing next? Okay, that's actually a good question. Because you know, out of Maki, Hikari, Yuta, and Yuji, one of them is definitely dying.
I'd say the one most likely at the moment was the one who got cut in fucking half this chapter.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go with Yuta dying by the end of the fight. I just don't think he's dead right here. But I do think that if anybody else is going to die, it's not going to be Hikari or Maki, and it's not going to be Yuji's main character. And see, that's the beauty of having 2 main characters in Yuta and Yuji, is that you can still kill off one. You know what I mean? And so...
well, I think Yuji's obviously more prominent as like the narrative main character
Right.
for JJK. You know, he's the guy we put on the cover of everything.
Exactly.
But I think he can still die and have that be a satisfying end to his story as the main character. You have that every once in a while.
Yeah.
I don't know how likely that is to happen anymore now that he's not Sukuna's vessel.
Yeah, but I don't think he can die without taking Sukuna out. Like, I think he has to be there for the last moment somehow.
I can see that as well, yeah, but I do agree with, because some stories, they will end like everyone thought back in the day that the way that Harry Potter was going to end is that Harry Potter was going to die by the end of the last book and stuff, right? Like, because that's been done many times before. You can kill off, a lot of people say it's the safe gamble, is that you almost never kill off main characters. But if you're going to, you can kill everyone's fair game by the end of the story, because it's the end of the story. Right? So, yes, is it possible? Sure, but I really do think it's Yuta. I think Yuta or Maki. I really don't see Hikari. You could work it out. You could work it out any way. I could see all of them dying, but I really think, because Maki's suffered enough, I think. She's done a lot of suffering. Would be the idea that she went out by, saving the world. Hikari, you could make the whole, my gambler's luck finally ran out. You could do that thing. Yuta, just because his story is kind of over. And Yuji, for, once again, being the main character, and, he's had, it's like it started with me, it's going to end with me, and all this stuff. So you can make an argument for just about anybody, I would say. Yeah. Jobber then says Yuta isn't dying, but he's definitely tapping out. From here.
I have my doubts about any of the 4 from that one color page dying. So the color page we got after the Takaba fight was over, I have serious doubts about any of those 4 dying. I think the whole deal with that page is like these 4 are the people for the next generation. They are the guys for the next generation of sorcerers. They're not fucking going anywhere.
Yeah.
It's fair. That's very.
Can I say 2 things on that subject, by the way?
Sure.
1, I will never forgive Gege for taking away Hakari's like pimp fur coat and putting him in a black jumpsuit.
Who doesn't want to get it dirty? He's not gonna be running around fighting people in the big pimp coat.
Yeah, that's true.
No, it needs to fight in. Like, it worked for Laxus. It has no reason why it couldn't work.
Oh wait, hold on. Actually, wait, no. Here's the explanation for it. Every fight Hakari is in, his clothes get annihilated. He's not bringing it into fights with him.
That's true. It's his favorite coat.
I mean, you look at him, you get half a chapter into him fighting Urayume, his fucking pants are half destroyed, his jacket's been destroyed, he's got to get rid of that, there's a big fucking hole in his tank top. You don't want to bring the multiple $1,000 cost fur coat to the death battle.
Yeah. And on speaking of the next generation, I think I thought about this like once or twice in the shower, like really quickly. Like, man, it'd be cool if it's like, you have like JJK Shippuden, it's never going to happen, but JJK Shippuden was like Hirara, Hakari, and Kashimo as the trio, and I think that's never gonna happen. Kashimo was dead, and like, well, we never actually saw a body, now that I think about it.
By now, he's dead. I thought it would have been funny if he just pops up to get one last attack on Sukuna that is like a, oh my god, just when we need like something just to throw him off for a moment. He shows up, hits Sukuna, Sukuna goes, how the fuck are you alive? And literally disintegrates him with Cleave. But it's been too long now, I think. He's gone for real.
He could be knocked out, to be honest. I'm still.
But his techniques killed him by now.
Yeah, by now, maybe, I'm fairly confident.
Because remember, he's not Yuta and he's not Gojo, so his technique was frying him from the start. He was on a very short timer, and he was the one to tell us that. So, at this point,
I'm just considering one small possibility. It's like, imagine your technique will kill you, but like someone knocks you out. Would that stop the technique from like further killing you? Like you get uppercutted and you're knocked out. Would that stop the technique? It's just a random thought, honestly. I don't put much stock in it.
Okay, so my next on my list of generic topics, one of my things is we're going to go through your favorite moment, your least favorite moment, but also first, before we do that, is you can give, if you want to, you can give an overall ranking for the series out of 10. So far, rank the whole series. And on top of that, you can say, is it one of your favorite series? Is it in your top 10, top 20, something like that? You don't actually need to rate where it is, but is it your favorite series? Is it your number 1 series? Is it your number 9 series? Is it somewhere in that range? So we'll start with Misk. What do you think, bud?
I give JJK somewhere between like an 8.5 and a 9 out of 10. Okay. Like for the whole series. I'd say it's my favorite ongoing series. Not my favorite series overall, although it would still be somewhere in my top 5. And in my personal, maybe controversial, maybe not so controversial opinion, I think the last year or so has been the best stretch of the series. Sukuna takes over Megumi's body, and from then onwards, I think that's the best stretch of the series.
Okay. Top Hat, what about you?
Okay, before I get shot by the collective wrath of the internet, I will just say that I'm often accused of having higher standards than most people. I will say JJK for me is like a 6.5. I'm sorry, but I'm the guy that says that Berserk is like an 8 or a 7.5. So
that's I'm sorry for interrupting you. That's crazy. What do you rate as like a 9 or 10?
Did I ever rate it? I think the Fate Zero light novel I might have put it like no. I remember what I rated characters. I don't recall what I rated the series. Maybe a 9 just because I maybe cry so fucking much. A 9 out of 10 series. I maybe 1 or 2, but I can't even remember off the top of my head.
Okay. Okay, I get it. All right, cool. So you're just one of those very critical people. You weren't kidding.
Yes, I am sorry. I break everything down on a variety of levels. Just automatically, my brain just does that. I'm surprised I'm not goddamn autistic. Somehow I'm not. But yeah, like so 6.5, not really much in very high in my personal ratings, honestly. And it does hurt. One thing that does hurt JJK for me, especially with Gege admitting it on at various points in various interviews, as someone that's a fan of the Fate series, uh, less so nowadays because of the content they're putting out. A lot of it just feels, yes, this concept or this character, very similar to the Fate series. And unfortunately, you are not only are you not doing it as well as they have, like the same concept, you're not going as deep as the Fate series has gotten, but also like, come on, like, at least make the character different enough from the inspiration that I can like that character in isolation without just thinking, oh, it's just a kid's version of this character. I'm like, always in the back of my mind, unfortunately, and it does hurt me. I do really like Mahito though, just because I love the antagonist that's just there to specifically antagonize and poke the wound and twist the knife on the main character. I happen to really like that kind of villain. I guess you could argue it's the same dynamic as Joker and Batman, with a, simplifying it, I guess. And as favorite moments for me with JJK, probably something with Yuji and Mahito, or something with Shibuya, Sukune and Shibuya, probably.
Oh my god, I totally forgot. My favorite moment. It's still chapter 132. It's still Yuji beating Mahito.
Oh, okay, that's fair. That's very fair. As far as I go, once again, I've discussed this many times, so when I tell you guys my number, you're going to need the explanation. I give it about, JJK, about a 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10. Now, once again, unlike everyone else who believes a 5 is a 0 on the internet, 5 means average, people. 5 is an average. It's literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay? So a 5 is not a 0. A 4 is not a 0, right? A 5 is, I don't dislike it. I don't like it. I think it's okay. So I'm going to bump it up a little bit, probably to a 6. Okay? It's because I have some moments I really like it. But there's a lot of things that I'm not the hugest fan of in the series. So it's an average series to me. I don't think it cracks my top 20. At a point it did. But then there was a few things that just kept happening as the series went on that I just wasn't as much of a fan of. But overall, yeah. So I think JJK is a fine ongoing series. I don't think it's the best thing I've ever read or anything like that, but I think it's definitely worth a read. When somebody asks me, hey, I'm looking for another battle shonen manga to read, and here's what I've read, I would recommend they read JJK. If they get into it, great. If they don't, it is what it is, right? But I certainly wouldn't say it's a bad series. I wouldn't say it's fantastic, but I think overall it's pretty good. It's just, but for me, it's about average or just above average. Though it does have some 9 out of 10 moments, some 10 out of 10 moments, right? But so many series do. Some series have great moments and bad moments and stuff like that. So yeah, overall, it doesn't crack into my favorite series, but I still think it's a good series. And favorite moment, there are so many really good moments. And I think a lot of people are expecting me to pick a Yuta moment, and that would be very easy to do. There's a lot of great Yuta moments for me. But I think one of my actual favorite moments is the baseball against Kyoto. Just that whole little stretch was just I think we were robbed of more almost filler-esque beach episode. We're going to play a sport thing with the cast. I think Gege made a great job of doing that, and just that little tiny, it's not even enough to call it an arc. It was just a chapter or two. But it was that whole stretch, I think we deserved a little bit more of that, even if they were just volume extras or something like that, because I felt like, okay, like, it's not always doom and gloom, for God's sakes, because the beginning of the series had a lot of humor to it. It had a lot of, not fourth wall breaking necessarily, but it had a lot of meta stuff in it and stuff. And there was a lot of jokes being made. And there was a lot of, like, it was a little bit of morbid humor, but it was still humorous and stuff. And as the series went on, it went dark, 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 and we're going to stay dark, and we're going to be dark for the rest of it. So, which can work. I mean, I know we're at the final stretch now. No one's happy about anything, but at this junction. But yeah, so that's probably my favorite part of the thing. And I will praise. I still think that Hidden Inventory is probably the best arc in JJK. I think Hidden Inventory is the best part. It's like, as I said before, I might think that the series is only about a 6 out of 10, but Hidden Inventory, that's a 9 out of 10 arc. That arc was awesome. That was such a good arc for me. Maybe I was overhyped on Shibuya a little bit because I don't think it's the best arc in JJK. I think it's a good arc. It's a very good arc, but I don't think it's the best arc. And as far as my worst moment, we'll have to go back through because Top and Myth didn't say their worst moment. My worst moment would probably be the Kashimo fight part with in 236, 237 or whatever it was. Just for a number of reasons. Clearly, that the Amber Beast technique has way too many flaws from just a general third grader's knowledge of how electricity works. Not only that, but the fact that it was hyped up. This is a technique that he fights at a top level against Hikari with constant RCT and stuff like that without using his curse technique because it's so broken, he's saving it for the fight, the man. And he's such a good sorcerer on his own without this thing. This thing must be broken as shit. It must be so powerful. And Yuta and Higuruma did a better job fighting Sukuna than Kashimo. So the fact that Kashimo, knowing what his technique could do, watched that whole shit go down with Gojo, knows what he's in for, goes out there acting like his technique is still top shit, and then gets absolutely bitch slapped. It was the most disappointing. It's a big reason why I dropped the series. So many people misread or misunderstand that I did not drop it because Gojo died. I still think the Gojo dying chapter was terrible, but that's for a lot of other reasons. No, I dropped it once that shit was just so egregious to me. So yeah, that was my worst moment. Was just it was stacking for a while, but holy shit, that was bad. But yeah, so Misk, what about your worst moment?
Worst moment, funnily enough, within the last year as well, which is pretty funny, the last year or so, it would either be 210, the Angel chapter, where just for some reason,
yeah,
he goes, "Oh, we can't have another female friend in the group," or I have reservations about it because I'm worried that I'll feel like she's replacing Nobara, and I'm just like, Yuji, this feels so fucking out of character for you. Are you not able to distinguish the differences between different people of the same sex?
And remember the pacing on that was so off, like with the flashback and then not and stuff. I remembered hating on that whole section with that. That was, like, the panels were so out of place. Like, we were jumping all over the place like it was a pinball of a piece.
Yeah, it was, I reread the chapter when I, did my reread for the year.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, like, kind of able to tell, like, generally why things were split up the way they were, but it was still not good.
Yeah.
That's probably the worst. In hindsight, The worst is the one right before the Gojo and Sukuna fight starts. Where we're just kind of very quickly flashing over everyone doing stuff, and then, oh my god, Gojo's going off to fight Sukuna, bye! Like, we just skip over, like, a month and a half. It was so...
Yeah.
strange. I understand why it was done, in the sense that the new things that people can do, Gege wants them to be a surprise.
Yeah.
Because on the one hand, you spend, like, I don't know, half a dozen chapters, maybe more, dedicated to, like, training arc shit. And so it's like, oh boy, this is what all the people are going to be doing, and then we're just going to see them do it later. Instead, you wanted to make it a surprise when people pull out new things.
Yeah.
That, for me, is not the big problem. The big problem is that Gojo comes back, and we get, like, none of the reaction to him coming back.
Nope.
It's he comes back, he goes, nah, I'd win. And then, we have him having very brief interactions with a few people, and we get no feel for the impact of his return after everything that's happened. And then he just goes off and the fight starts. It would have helped make things hit so much harder if we saw that all happen.
Yeah. Once again, you can tell that Gege wanted to end. He wants to end this series in chapters like that, where it's like, no, I don't want to draw this out because I want to get to the final battle and I want to get to this and stuff. It's things like that.
It's weird because Gege's kind of. If you go back and look, it's a thing he does a lot, where if a thing isn't really important to the plot, he just skips over it. Like the kidnapping in Hidden Inventory. When the maid gets kidnapped, we just gloss over that. They show like a brief little 10-second flash of it in the anime to show that, yeah, that was really fucking easy, getting her back. But, you know, that's just kind of a thing he does, where if things aren't really...
that was a thing.
Yeah, exactly. If it's not really that important, or if it's not really going to have that big of an impact on the plot, he has a tendency to just sort of skim over it. Which is, like, okay most of the time, and it's, you know, I won't hate on you not basically just doing padding for a series that you already have a general idea of how you want to, like, have it play out.
Yeah.
Or, like, it's really weird to have that happen, and then you go into the longest fight of the series right after. And then you have a multi-chapter long fight of the fucking joke character fighting one of the main villains. And then you get into this stretch of the last 10 or so chapters. Like, this has not felt like it's being rushed when you look at the pacing.
Yeah. I feel like he did rush to get to here because he knew, okay, I can't rush this part, this final battle part, so I'm going to rush everything else so I can get to there, you know?
So I can get to this, and then this we can put a lot of time into.
Like, I'll be honest, like, part of me, like, reading the Gojo, the Kashima, and the Takaba fight, I swear it just felt to me that Gege wanted to make the Gojo fight shorter because it seems that sometimes it dragged out. And I swear, and with the Kashima fight being as short as it is, and the Gojo fight being as long as it is, I swear to God, if you would put the gun to my head, I would say there was a lot of editor meddling for like the time and the amount of chapters allotted for those two fights. And then Gege just went, I want to do something therapeutic, so now I'm making the Takaba fight that's therapeutic from doing
the Takaba fight. I've heard people talk about it.
I swear it was therapy because of a lot of editor shit. I swear there must have been.
I think the Takaba fight is supposed to be somewhat therapeutic in general because it's placed right after like the most soul-crushing chapters of the series. Is if that happens, and it's like, okay, now it's time for the comedic relief fight. 242, the one where they're just going through all of the skits one after another, it's just so schizophrenic. I'm like, this isn't the sort of chapter you write if you just want your series to be over. Like, what the fuck's going on right now?
Yeah, no, that's very true.
Editor fucking meddling.
I don't think well, if it's him doing it after editor meddling, I'd be like, yeah, I can't imagine editors. Yeah, I can't even imagine editors trying to pitch something like that to an author.
Yeah,
they were just like, do some random bullshit.
Yeah, I feel if you were to put a gun to my head, I would say I feel like everything regarding Gojo and Kashimo fight until the Takaba fight had a lot of the hands of the editors over Gege's neck, and then as soon as that was over, he was free and it's like, I'm gonna do something therapeutic.
Absolutely possible. Before we get to Top Hat's worst moment in the series, I better catch up here because Jobber's been saying a few things. So in the chat, so Jobber said last time it was Yuta isn't dying, he's tapping out. We already discussed that. Jobber says Maki is definitely more likely to die than Yuta, with her character arc being complete and the MS foreshadowing. It's definitely possible. As I said, I could make an argument for all 4 characters. There's an argument. Which one you think is more finished or whatever? Like, what is Yuta's story? Yuta's story was finished in 0. Yuta's story was done. So, he's literally had his story completed before we even started the series. So, I mean, really, he's just there to assist, to help with the other characters. So, I mean, I could make that argument. But Jobber said, Kashimo turned into red mist after that attack, bro. It's over. I mean, yeah, I don't think Kashimo's alive. I think he's done like dinner.
With how many chapters have gone by, I'm pretty sure he said.
Do you all mind if I give my input on the topic? Misk already answered and said, sure, why not? And yeah, of course, that's what the chat's for, right? Jobber said between 8 and 8.5. Fair. Might get bumped up to a 9 if the ending is satisfying as I hope it's going to be. Shonen certainly doesn't have, especially Jump Series, does not have a great track record when it comes to a satisfying ending. But we will have to wait and see. Jobber said it's definitely in my top 20, but doesn't crack top 10. I'd say it's close, though. All right. So Jobber really likes that, which is surprising because, as we know, if any of you are in Misk's Discord, Jobber likes to play the role of negative Nelly for a lot of stuff going on, no matter what. Is the first one to bring the memes.
It's so funny, Jobber. I imagine you're still in here right now. Whenever he talks about Kengan stuff a lot of the time.
Oh.
Every week a Kengan chapter comes out, it's like my eyes roll back into my skull. But whenever it comes time for him to discuss JJK, I'm like, oh, this is good. This is going to be really good.
Yeah. No, I agree. I can't even go into the Kengan chat anymore because it's always going to be negative. It's always negative in there. When I like what's going on, so I don't know. But yeah,
Shen is hilarious. I'm sorry, Shen is just good.
Yeah. I love Shen. Shen's the best thing in Omega. He's so fucking funny. He's so entertaining.
Yeah. Shen is great. Jobber says favorite moments gotta be a Yuji versus Mahito. Yeah, that's the same as Misk's. And actually, when Misk first brought up Angel as the worst moment, I thought it wasn't going to be that chapter that he talked about. I thought it was going to be the whole Jacob's Ladder was going to win. It was going to beat Sukuna. Right then and there, the whole thing could have been solved. But fucking Hannah is such a dumb broad. It's like, oh...
I'm sorry, she really is that. I think people talk about, like, oh, Yuki, what happened to Yuki? Clearly Gege hates women. I'm like, no. Hannah, though, well...
Hannah, that's the argument.
Hannah, I feel like, is Gege going, women, am I right, fellas?
I want to say something about that, but I'll leave it for my turn.
Okay, so Jobber also says the last 2 things is Griever Higuruma got his shit rocked in by Sukuna too. Okay, I'm going to make a quick argument for this. Higuruma became a sorcerer all of 5 fucking minutes ago. Kashimo's been a sorcerer for 400 fucking years.
Yeah.
There's no excuse. I'm sorry. Higuruma lasted longer. He's a fucking lawyer who just discovered there's magic in the world, and he was able, and his ability, unlike Mr. I've locked away my 400-year technique, it's so OP, got the shit rocked. Higuruma, who just discovered this magic, actually had a technique that could one-shot Sukuna. There is no comparison here. I'm sorry. The man learned RCT in 5 minutes of fighting. Like, he's way more... Kashimo sucks.
Those, 2 chapters for Higuruma were so fucking good.
Yeah.
That was such good stuff for him. Oh, my lord.
And then Jobber says he just lasted that long because Sukuna wanted to toy with them. He was more interested in Higuruma's development than Kashimo. Doesn't that tell you that even your main villain is like, Nah, fuck this Amber Beast shit. What the fuck does Amber... This isn't Jurassic Park. What does Amber have to do with lightning, by the way? No. I'm gonna go deal with the lawyer. The lawyer is interesting, man. I watch Suits. I got this. Law and Order is my go-to. Let's do this, you know? So Sukuna's more interested in the fucking lawyer than he is in the goddamn... You know? So, anyway, no. I know Jarvis just doing shit because he likes to, but yeah, no. I'm sorry. No. Higuruma's is so much more interesting, and even Sukuna fucking knew it. So, I'm good with that. Anyway, so yeah, moving on to Top Hat. What is your worst moment, my guy?
Okay, can I say the worst moment and then make a detour to defend Kashimo a little bit?
You can defend Kashimo, you ain't gonna win. You can defend it, but yeah, you can say your worst moment, and then you can defend Kashimo.
Okay. Full disclosure, I am actually not big a fan of Kashimo as a character. I just look at like all the hate and I'm like, I don't think people are analyzing this properly, but that's just my take. Mm-hmm. I mean like the wider internet stupidity crowd, not reviewers specifically. But like my worst moment, I would say, is Megumi getting taken over, and here is the reason. And there's only one YouTuber that made a video like dissing this chapter, and then the guy deleted it after like two days and went back to being completely positive about everything JJK. I swear the man was bullied by the internet. Because there was just one dude, and then after like 3 days deleted the video or privated it or something. Because the thing for me is that like they say, oh, wait, how should I put this? We didn't know that Sukuna could just like make himself into a cursed object. That came out of nowhere. Then it's like, well, it's only 1 in a million that can be a vessel, and then randomly, Megumi can and not die from cursed energy poisoning or some bullshit. And then to me it also goes against a little bit like the whole thing where he told him in Shibuya when he healed him is like, I need you to do something for me. And the way it's always phrased, it was always like, it's going to be a binding vow, or he's going to coerce him or ask him to do something with the 10 Shadows, because, again, the whole thing, Gege is saying he wants the 10 Shadows to create his perfect world or something. So, him being able to body hop as easily as he could, the idea that Megumi didn't instantly die from consuming not a special grade cursed object, like 15 worth of them, and then the idea that it goes against at least the phrasing that he said in Shibuya, which implies he wanted to make a deal with Megumi rather than anything else, that to me made me really fucking pissed. Because it felt like it derailed and went against all established things, and I happen to like consistency.
Okay, I haven't heard that take before, but I mean, it's not a bad argument. I'll give you that one. I do know from the bullying side of things, when people have a poor opinion, see, Yuji is just not him to me, as to use the internet's way of saying he's him. Yuji has never been him to me. People are way more impressed with Yuji than I ever have. So I definitely know about that. When you shit on Yuji, the JJK community doesn't care if you made a valid point or not. They despise you. Trust me. So maybe Buddy did get a lot of that ridicule if he initially didn't like it and stuff. So I definitely could see that. And consistency is good. I never really thought about the whole... Since he's from the Fushiguro clan, I sort of... The whole 15 fingers can go in him, sort of... Almost like a pass, in a sense, because he's part of the families, I guess. But, I mean, he's part of the Zenins and stuff like that, so... I always figured that if anybody was going to be able to tank them, it would be people from the 3 main families or something like that.
Yeah, but it's just Megumi is like a fucking once-in-a-generation genius.
Yeah.
And prodigy when it comes to his power, and that would translate to his body's... his cursed energy, the way that his body makes use of it and is accustomed to it. Mm-hmm. I'm not shocked that he's able to withstand it. But, obviously he is not powerful enough to suppress Sukuna. Sukuna just takes over, and there's nothing stopping him.
Yeah. That's very true. Very true. But that is Top Hat Source moment. Now, I will give you a few minutes to defend Kashimo, if you like, and then we'll move on to the next topic.
Yes. Full disclosure, again, it's not that I don't necessarily like him as a character. It's just like people are saying he's a bum, and I'm like, no, that's not what's happening. I'm sorry. Like, for example, both Kashimo without Sacred Beast Amber and then with Sacred Beast Amber. Like, whenever... I feel like a lot of people just look at Kashimo and just go, oh, he lost to Akari, and that's all about it. That's it. And I just think, okay, how about you consider the small bag of tricks, small but impressive bag of tricks that he used against Akari, and put him in any other situation against anyone else. Run the scenario in your head. Like, or like, for example, someone says, oh, domain user. And I'm like, okay, open domain, hollow wicker basket, take 2 steps back, drop the staff. The moment the domain user comes in between you and the staff, boom, dead. That's just like one small thing that no one ever fucking considers. It's like, people just look at the result, they don't look at someone's kit, and so, okay, this kit, in a different circumstance, what would happen? No one ever thinks about that. And I don't like that people are so short-sighted. Like, I'm sorry, are humans not higher cognitive creatures, or are we just dumb animals?
I think the problem is the real problem that most people who are coherent readers and stuff like that, the problem is Kashimo is his own worst enemy. He's his own worst enemy in the sense that he told, when Yuta was like, fuck it, fuck the Kenjaku plan, I'm going out there and doing what he's been doing right now, by the way. He was gonna go out and do that. Kashimo was like, sit the fuck down, and it's like, now that we know what his trump card was versus Yuta, it's like, bitch, please.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people talk about that page in hindsight.
And also, he just watched everything that Gojo just did, and it didn't work. Or, well, it worked, but, blah, blah, blah. So he went out there, talking trash, acting like top dog, and then still got folded. It would have been different. See, Kashimo was his own worst enemy for the fandom because he acted like he wasn't intimidated, like he wasn't scared, like, oh yeah, if Gojo fails, don't worry, boys, you got me. But he did less than anybody else in this Sukuna fight. So the problem with Kashimo is he talked a big game and then he didn't even make it to the game. So, like, it's not the talk the talk, walk the walk. The man didn't even take one step. So, that's the biggest problem, is that Kashimo was his own hype man and didn't live up to even one word of his own hype. So, you're not wrong that, yes, Kashimo is still a very impressive sorcerer, and he's still one of the strongest characters we've seen in this universe. But when it came to lay down the chips against the thing, and he still talked and acted like he could do something, and he did literally nothing. So that's why the fandom doesn't like him. That's why, once again, that's part of the reason I don't like him.
Yeah, can I now defend him in Sacred Beast Amber, or like that whole situation?
Oh, as an electrician, you're not going to win with me. Because science alone tells me that bitch makes no sense. But okay, but yeah, you can defend Sacred Beast Amber. Go ahead.
Yeah. Like, for one, it's just like the way I look at Kashimo and Gojo. This is just a little bit of like involving context. Gojo, like they're both good at defense and offense. I would just say like Kashimo is like go offense compared to Gojo, which is a lot more like the best part of his kit by far is his defensive skills. I would say, all things considered.
Okay.
And then Gojo admits like mid-fight, like, why is this guy not using 10 shadows at the same time as the domain, and like Gojo admitted even mid-fight that Sukuna wasn't like going for the kill, he was like prolonging the fight. So any argument on the subject of how long the fight is, I point at Gojo even saying, yeah, this guy's not even trying to take an advantage against me. So detail. Again, Gojo's own admission, not mine. But the thing with Sacred Beast Amber, first off, the thing which I think is bullshit, and which goes back to you being an electrician, is like, Sukuna just grabs this ball of lightning, gamma radiation, and X-ray radiation, and nothing happens. I'm like, I'm sorry, shouldn't like Sukuna's arms come off or some shit? Like,
Yes.
he just goes like, yes. So that's one thing I thought Gege was just rushing it, because like if he wasn't rushing, I'd be like, there's no way you can touch this fucker and not lose hands. I'm sorry. Like logically speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing, like with Sacred Beast Amber, is that he went a lot harder right off the bat against Sacred Beast Amber than he was against Dojo, in my opinion. Well, as soon as he got in 4 arms, because it's like, not only does he only use the space dismantle when Ashimo is in mid-air, because he grabs him more punches in mid-air, and I'm like, basic anime shit. Oh shit, I'm in mid-air, I can't dodge, and somehow Ashimo at least managed to dodge the first.
Mm-hmm.
And even when someone's like, oh, we told him to dodge, I'm like, yes, because the 2 experienced sorcerers, one is making hand signs and chanting and building up his cursed energy. I'm sure Kashimo with X-ray vision even can't tell that a big attack is coming. I'm sorry, the guy must be blind. So that's one. So in midair, you can't dodge. And then Sukuna, the problem is that it's very fast and it's not commented upon. It's the old trick of, I'm going to blind you first and then like get on top of you or do something. Because like, he does like the Kamutoke lightning barrage and then immediately gets behind him. Like, Noritoshi Kamu did that shit against Megumi, for example. Like, he did that. He made like pieces of debris fall and immediately got on in his face. And then even Yuta did this. He made like Rika as a cloak of shadow, like getting between him and Sukuna, and then made a stab, and he used the same trick with like sky manipulation. So it's the oldest trick in the book. Like, I mean, fuck, Dagon used this against Naobito. He blinded him, punched him in the face, sent him into the air, and then attacked him with a shit ton of Shikigami in the air. So it's like, yes, this guy only attacks you in the air and goes out of his way to blind you to create opportunities with a cursed tool. And then hits you with the strongest attack in the series. Twice. Like, yes, it was short. It's unfortunate. But the guy is taking you seriously as fuck. He's using the dirtiest tricks in the book to make sure he can kill you as fast as possible.
Yeah, the way I would look at what happened is Sukuna gets his original body back for the first time in 1,000 years. And this guy who's like pretty strong shows up. So rather than doing what he normally does, which is being about as strong as he has to be to get a full idea of what his opponent's capable of, he just goes, I am going to have fun right now, going all out and just beating the piss out of you. And then goes, hey, I'm going to throw you a bone here. Dodge this attack.
In mid-air.
Which, once again, but if he can do everything electricity can do, electricity can move in midair.
Yeah.
Problem solved. But here's the thing: he should also be able to move. He should be able to move at over 200 miles per hour, 200,000 miles per hour. So
yeah, he should be able to split atoms and create.
He should be able to do
explosions.
See, the big problem with Amber Beast, as I brought up in my review before I dropped it, was that both the official translation and the fan translation, and this is on Gege or whoever, I assume it's been translated by both at some point, correct? They both state he can do everything electricity can do, and it's like, and so many people make the argument, well, he doesn't understand modern electricity. I said, a lightning bolt existed before humankind. So there's no reason why he can't, at the very minimum, do everything lightning at the bare minimum can do. And lightning can travel faster than anything we've seen in the series. Yeah. Lightning can attack and do damage with higher... I've seen Sukuna damaged. I've seen characters in the series damaged by things that lightning would do more damage to. So once again, if you even were to dumb down the explanation and say, no, he can't do everything that electricity can do. He can do basically everything that lightning can do. If we were to dumb it down even to that, his performance is so piss poor with that logic. So the problem with the Amber Beast isn't all that, it's the explanation of what it is. And what it is killing everything in this damn series with no diffing. But it doesn't
I'm
do
surprised.
it.
I'm surprised the place didn't end up an irradiated wasteland. The dude outputs electromagnetic waves and X-ray. I'm like, how is this place not an irradiated wasteland? Why? How doesn't Higuruma just drop dead from radiation poisoning?
There is a lot to be said for that. Jobber, really quick here, so because we're going to move on to the next topic, anyways. Jobber says Higuruma is just a giga prodigy. I'm like, right, he's more impressive. So Sukuna was more interested. I'm like, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Jobber said Sukuna is pretty much a Jujutsu nerd. He loves to see the growth in sorcerers, so of course he's going to be more interested on the prodigy than the guy who already reached his peak. Once again, so you're agreeing. I'm Sukuna. I'm like, I am more interested in the lawyer than the dude who doesn't understand how to use his own broken ass technique. I'm more interested in the smart guy. I mean, Sukuna's not wrong to put Higuruma above Kashimo. Like, yeah, oh, you can do everything electricity can do. You're doing none of it. You don't even get your own bloody technique. That's fantastic. You know? Jobber also says, Sukuna also says in that same arc, I'll be out of this body soon enough. Yeah, he did have there was something about that, yeah. He did have the intention to maybe jump bodies, but Iron's in here. Hi, Iron. He said they should give Hakari access to nuclear weaponry. Oh, I mean...
Not gonna lie, I do think Hakari could, like, just blow up, because I think it's the Viz translation. It says... The reason why he has RCT is that he has so much cursed energy that if he did not RCT immediately, he would explode. So I would say there's an argument for Akari just going full Cyberman nuke.
Because the thing with his reverse curse technique is he has so much cursed energy flowing through him that his body just instinctively does it. He doesn't know how to do reverse curse technique, he just does it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He actually can't do RCT outside of his jackpot. So.
Yeah. I'm just saying that it says that, like, oh, if you didn't, at least the Viz translation says, if you didn't, you just explode. I'm like, where? I can see a Cyberman situation, if it comes down to it. Just says, nah, fuck RCT, and just explodes.
So we're gonna do really quick. We only have a few more topics, and they'll be pretty straightforward. They're gonna be your favorite character and, in your opinion, your most hated character, right? Before we do that, really quick, we'll catch up with the chat. Jobber said, "Not Griever trying to apply real life logic to a fictional series."
No, shut.
I'm not even gonna. All right. Here's all I'm gonna say to that. Does fire still burn in manga? Is water still wet in manga? Is air still breathable in manga? That's all I'm going to say. Does gravity still exist? So, we're tabling that one. And he says, I don't see you arguing about why Kizaru isn't blowing people up with each of his attacks since he moves at the speed of light. Unconfirmed completely. You show me a panel in One Piece where it says that he is moving at the speed of light. You will not find it because I've seen that argument a million times and I've seen it debunked by bigger YouTubers than me a million times. He does have the light fruit, but it is never stated that he can do everything light particles can do and stuff like that. That is never stated. It's stated that he shoots light beams and he's a being made of light. But it never stated that he moves at the physics speed of light. It is not stated. So, unlike here, where it is actually stated, that's the difference. Is that Gege or whoever screwed up by claiming that's what Amber Beast did. All they needed to do with Amber Beast is said it is a being made of lightning-like cursed energy output or something. Or electricity-like. The reason that it's a problem is because it says that it can do everything. Well, don't take real-world physics, say it can do that, and then say, well, it's fictional world. So, we're not doing that. Realist Medell said, Kashimo the Lightning Man, who doesn't know how to do everything like electricity. Right. Spider-Man can't do everything that a spider can. Iron said, looking at Hakari's test scores, I wouldn't be surprised if he has no idea what's going on at all. Okay. He thinks this is all just an actual gambling machine. Probably. So we're going to move on to favorite character and why, Misk.
My favorite character...
Well, you don't need to say why, just, favorite character?
It's probably still Nanami. It's hard to say though.
Nice.
Competition with that, Higuruma, Chozo, Yuji, they would probably be my competition. Least favorite character, my most hated character.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard for me to judge because most of the really hateable characters are intended to be hated.
Right.
So for me, it comes down to characters that I think are either a waste, in which I don't think there are many, because most characters that don't do much of anything aren't meant to do much. For characters I fucking hate those people with the hair techniques right from the start of Calling Games. They're just so fucking stupid. I hate them.
It's fair. That's absolutely fair. What about yours? Favorite and least favorite character?
Before that, can I just make a very small comment on the hair technique people?
Go ahead.
Of course.
Commenting that Ryu is technically a hair technique person.
Okay, but his hair...
Whenever my brain just clicks that button on the fact about Ryu's hair, I'm like...
Okay, but
oh my God, like...
His dumb hairdo doesn't turn into an airplane or a helicopter. He just uses it to shoot giant fucking lasers out of a pompadour. It's peak.
I know, but I find so funny that I also shit on the hair people and then like, Ryu! My brain just clicks. Okay, so... favorite character, I would say Sukuna, to be honest. Okay. In large part, I think it's because, again, Gege has admitted to this, is based on my two favorite Fate characters, which are unironically my two favorite characters of all time. I wish he would do more to distinguish himself character-wise from either of them, so that's a bit of an unfortunate situation for me. It was already my favorite before I made, like, the parallels in my head. I just like the vibe. And it's so simple, you just cut people, and yet I'm the king of curses, bitch. I gotten this good with just cutting people. I like the vibe.
Nice.
And most hated character, I'm gonna get shot by the fucking internet. Can you take a guess of what I'm going to say, considering my comment?
Shot by the internet. I don't know. Either Nobara or Megumi?
No, Gojo.
That was going to be my next guess.
Yeah. I'm sorry, like, and after reanalyzing, like, his dying moments on how the man probably, like, lived more for the image that other people had of him more than himself, at that point, I started to like his character a bit more, because that... even though, as people say, his friends say as he's dying, he's like a selfish pervert or something, what they call him, it does require an extreme amount of selflessness and masculine self-sacrificial nature to just live in accordance to the role that society entrusts upon you if you're the only person that can do it. But before that moment, I've hated him since since chapter 3, because I detest people that just say shit out of pride without having the facts to back it up. Like, he says, oh yeah, this guy, the strongest of the strongest era that was so good, like so overwhelming that he became something beyond human with 4 arms and 2 faces, and I know literally nothing of his fucking techniques, I have no idea what it is. Yeah, I beat him. I'm like, oh, you prideful little shit. You're just talking out of pride. I hate that. Like, you I just detest that. But I liked him after his death. It took him dying for me to like him.
Okay. So my favorite is either going to go to either... what girls is your type? I think I gotta go with Toto, probably. He is just too cool for school. And I'm really disappointed that he's not here. We haven't seen him since the end of the Mahito shit. So,
same.
I'm like, he was so fucking cool, and now we haven't seen him at all. So it's definitely down between him and Yuta. Obviously, I'm a Yuta fanboy. It's down between those two. But yeah, for obvious reasons for both, I don't think I need to explain why. But they're just really, really cool. Least favorite. Honestly, that list is a little longer than my favorites. But there are so many unique characters. There's so many cool characters and stuff like that. In JJK, that's one of the good things. It does have a good variety of a cast, even if there's not enough time spent with the characters. It definitely has a very diverse cast of different characters, different types of villains, different types of good people, bad people, all that stuff. I would say is that it's hard to pick a least favorite because there are some characters I just like. Mahito, as Miss was pointing out, like for obvious reasons you're supposed to hate them, and that means it's good writing. So Mahito is a perfect example of that, right? We're supposed to dislike him. But I think it's down to either Kenjaku or Nobara for me. The reason for Kenjaku, though, is mostly due to the fan base, so I don't think that's fair. Nobara, I just dislike. It has nothing to do with the fan base, so I think that's the pick I'm going to go with. I thought she's a bitch for no fucking good reason. I believe Miss remembers when I was reading through her backstory and stuff. Oh, don't worry.
I remember.
And it's
very
like,
well.
And I was able to fix it to make her likable. It took 2 panels, and I can fix it. But for some reason, we doubled down on, no, she's just a bitch for the sake of being a bitch. With no tragic backstory, no PTSD, no reason for her to be such a bitch. She's just a bitch for the sake of bitchiness. And I'm just like, yeah, no, why is she likable? Are the people who like her the people who like having a woman in high heels step on their balls? Like, are these the people? Because there is nothing redeeming or likable about her. So I'm just like, yeah, no. So yeah, Nobara is definitely, yeah, no. She's Sakura from Naruto, except in bitch mode. Somehow they made a worse Sakura. I don't know how. But so Gege screwed up that with the whole female thing. Yeah, absolutely there. But yeah, and Kenjaku's only comes from, I think he's a fine villain as he's portrayed. But the problem is that the fan base does 2 things. One, they overhype him from a power scaling perspective, in my opinion. But also, they overhype him as a narrative. They say he's way more cunning. He's the best Machiavellian and schemer in manga history. He's better than guys from Gamblefish. He's better than Aizen from Bleach. He's better than Shishio from Kenshin. He's better than Hao from Shaman King. He's one of the greatest written villains. He's 4D chess stuff, and I'm like, no, he's not really. You're overhyping the fuck out of him. So I think he's a good written villain. I think he's a 3-dimensional villain, but he's lauded as he's like the greatest puppet master in manga history, and he's just not. So, but as I said, that's from fans and, you know, being on the internet, so I think that's an unfair. That's why I'm trying to say, nah, it's more Nobara, because Nobara's just from me, just from my experience, with no external input. So, yeah. Okay, we got some people talking about their favorites and stuff like that. Let's see. We have Realist Medell said people thought Kashimo versus Sukuna would go down like Madara versus Guy, but it ended up with Kashimo turning into Red Mist. I mean, yeah, and that is unfortunate. It would have been better had it been more like the Naruto style. Iron said, "Yeah, Miska, Nanami fan, let's go." I admit Nanami was really cool. Nanami's always. I don't know anybody who dislikes Nanami. I just don't.
Me.
Oh.
Why do you dislike Nanami? Why?
How do you not like him?
Okay. He's very bland for my personal tastes.
Okay.
And I think people that are so attached to him just make me go, did you have enough fatherly love in your life? Because
let me tell you the reason.
Okay, okay. That sounds like an attack. I'm sorry.
No.
To the overall internet.
No, don't worry. I'll explain it because I like talking about why I like Nanami so much. Okay. I read his flashback and I went, wow, he is literally, in this, the person I want to avoid becoming the most. Is a person that does everything in your life for money and has nothing they do that they're passionate about. And then deciding to, you know, dedicate your life to something that actually makes you feel fulfilled and like you have meaning.
Okay, fair point. I will still say that these bland for my tastes, but again, we're talking about personal enjoyment. Like, you're telling me like he's a solid person as a person? Yes, he definitely is. He's just a person, my personal preference.
Fair enough. So Jobber says for me it's Haruta. Who's
You're
Haruta?
fucking
Isn't that the
trolling, you
hand
little...
guy? Isn't that the
You
hand
little
guy with the
bastard,
fucking luck?
you're fucking around. Or maybe he means his most hated character.
Maybe.
In which case, yeah, that's fine.
Who is Haruta again?
Haruta was the fucking ponytail hand sword guy whose technique was that Nanami beat the brakes off.
Oh
of
no, that dude was annoying as fuck.
I will never get over the fact that instead of just summoning Divine Dog or Max Elephant, Megumi just went Maharaga on that guy.
I think it was because also he did that. One, he was basically mortally injured, and two, he could sense that Sukuna was in Shibuya, so he's like, well, fuck it, I guess.
Yeah, I guess, but I will never get over it. I would have loved to go and not against Toji. I would have loved to see a Maharaga Toji Sukuna 3-way, and I'm surprised how we didn't open Maharaga on Toji.
I'm sure there's a Pornhub link for that. Yeah.
Wait,
So,
what?
Iron said my favorites, favorite spelt wrong, I just gotta say it, are Nanami, Toto, and Hikari. Alright, those are all fair picks. Very fair. And my least favorite is Megumi. He's just Gray Fullbuster with Pokemon. Yeah, he's a combination of Sasuke meets Gray, except he's somehow... I'll admit I like him more than Sasuke, but because the Naruto vibes of we have a mentor and two males, one is edgy, one's the main character and more happy, and a female, is straight out of Naruto, 100%.
Well, that's just the shonen main party.
That's
dynamic.
a shonen main party, exactly. But very popularized, obviously, by Naruto. But I will say that in early JJK, I definitely liked Megumi, but I'm sort of indifferent to him. I definitely don't dislike him, but he's all right. I think he's just sort of there, you know? Like, honestly, the main cast are some of the most boring characters for me.
He doesn't really get a lot of the focus and development that other characters do. Not to the same extent.
I will shit on Megumi so much if I am allowed to go off on the inspirations for his character, so I should better shut up.
Jobber says Gojo quickly backs it up, though. I mean, that's, you know, there's a sense of had Gojo won, it might have been a different story, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think Gojo is one of those overpowered people done right, in my opinion. But, you know, sort of like an Escanor and sort of like a lot of those characters, but it is what it is. Iron says, yeah, Toto. Yeah, Toto's awesome. Toto's just, what kind of girls do you like? Iron said, if next chapter doesn't start with a clapping sound and someone teleporting, I don't want it. I mean, I'm still under the impression that that's what Yuta used to get behind Kenjaku, is that he copied Boogie Woogie.
Oh, yeah, I heard a funny take on Toto around when season 2 of the anime ended, saying that after Shibuya, Toto basically got split into two characters. Like, his two most defining traits got split into two characters, Chozo and Hikari.
Yeah, 100%.
Not Hikari and Yuki?
No! Like, Chozo takes over, like, the obsessive big bro thing, and ends up just being, like, Yuji's number one guy. And then Hikari just gets the, I don't know what you want to call it, autistic masculine energy that Toto carried around with him.
Yeah.
That is completely correct. That analysis is completely correct.
100%, I agree. Realist Medell said, Toto's in the back rooms with Sumo and Katana Guy. Where's the Katana Guy? He can't see curse. He's such a master swordsman that he's able to fight high-level curses. He's fucking awesome. Whatever happened to our Katana boy, man? And I love the sumo thing and stuff. And I remember Misk was so proud of me. Remember when I called out how domains work in a different space-time shit? Everyone called me crazy. Next chapter, it's like, oh yeah, the time's messed up in a domain expansion versus the outer world stuff. And I'm like, fucking called it. Because everyone hated that. I love that sumo shit, man. I thought it was great.
But then people say that it's a simple domain, not the domain expansion, translation bullshit. What a headache, that whole thing.
Yeah, that was. So let's see. Jobber said, capping about Nobara for no reason. she's a bitch for no good reason. That's the
Oh
point.
yeah. Out of curiosity, Griever, how many? You said there's what, like one topic left or something? Because
Yep.
I'm probably gonna head out pretty soon to like take a shower and go get dinner. So.
Yeah. Okay. I only have one more topic, anyways.
Okay. Cool.
So we'll catch this up really quick. Iron said, "Do you have enough fatherly love?" No, I do not. I do, but I still like Nanami. Jobber said, "Yeah, Haruta is my most hated." Yeah, okay. Iron said, "I loved watching Nanami just mollywop his ass." That's true. Jobber said, "Megami was pretty much on death's door against Haruta. He summed it out of spite to fuck with him before he bit the bullet." That's the way I took it too. PB Bryce says, "I hate Inumaki that because his design was so cool in Volume 0, but Gege changed it and he's useless." Yeah, there is a problem with the fact that cursed speech should be broken, but he seems so weak after using just one command. So, yeah, I get why people are sort of on Inumaki. Jobber said, "Yuta didn't use Boogie Woogie to get behind Kenny." That's your opinion. He did the same move he used against Geto in 0. I mean... there's the clapping thing, as I said. I'm just saying, like, we don't have confirmation one way or another, but either way, we don't know if he did or not. But Iron said, "Autistic masculine energy is exactly why Hikari and Toto are my favorites." I mean, fair enough. Favorite spelled wrong. Realist Medell said, "I hate Kenny due to people overhyping him as the greatest mastermind of JJK." See, that's the same reason that I do, and that's not really... That's external forces, basically saying stuff.
I mean, in JJK, that would be correct, but not in manga.
Okay, so we're at the final, so is there... Alright, so this is the last topic. Is there any, currently, because we still have some manga left, is there any plot thread or unresolved issue or anything brought up that either was resolved that to your dissatisfaction or that hasn't yet been resolved and you're worried it won't be resolved or something like that? So,
Miwa.
Yeah. Actually, I didn't think of that. That's a great answer.
I rolled my eyes so hard.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. That's a great answer. All right, so nothing needs to be said on that one. I think everybody gets that one pretty straight. Top, really quick, what's your any unresolved issues currently?
Kenjaku and Sukuna and Tengen related flashbacks.
That's fair. Okay, yeah. I like that. Personally, I'd like to change my answer. I like the Miwa stuff. In my opinion, I guess this sort of counts as one because it was resolved, but in a bad way. Was the whole Noya coming back as a curse after the whole Maki thing? That was resolved, but because Maki and her mother, 2 in a row characters with all the knowledge that do not kill people with cursed energy without using cursed energy, chose not to do that. They know about it. It's one of the basic rules to stop curses from coming into the world, and they both fell on their face for it. And it's just like, that was so stupid. The whole time Maki was fighting Noya, I was like, this Digimon-ass looking motherfucker shouldn't be here. Because Maki fucked up. It's like, why? Why did you fuck up? So that to me was mine. But I would change. I didn't even think Miwa. Miwa. Because that was a nice romantic thing with Mekamaru and all that stuff. There was stuff going on there. That could have been the revenge story. That could have been a lot of things. But yeah. Anyways,
there was the page at Sendai, and then it's just like, she just can't use this sword anymore. I'm like, Gege, fuck you.
Yeah. Oh, she's not able to. We had a page of her there. Why? Because then we were just told later off screen, like, so she's not able to use the sword. And the fact that it was one of those, like from Hunter, the Gon, like, I'm going to use all the power I would have to become an adult version or whatever the fuck he does. That's basically the binding vow that Miwa used, was that sort of equivalent to be able to cut, and it literally it didn't do anything. So it's like, oh my god, what wasted... But it was meant to hype up our main villain, but... to show, like, in the same way that Ichigo's Bankai stopped with a finger sort of idea, that whole idea, the whole plan of, all right, this is all the power I will ever have, ting, fuck, it was supposed to act like that, but it didn't, and it sort of fell flat as a result, in my opinion. But Anyways, so that's pretty much it. Those were all the topics. I did have some bonus stuff, but they were just more, really, really generic shit. But and since Misk has to go, and we've been streaming for over 2 hours, I didn't intend for it to be much longer anyways. So yeah, thank you very much to everyone who joined. Thank you to both Misk and Top Hat for joining in the VC and stuff like that. I appreciate both of you dropping in and answering the questions and stuff.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this
I'm going to get shot by the internet.
Yeah. So this was quite a bit of fun once again. And no, I'm not restarting JJK. Yes, I do read it on my own time, but I'm not planning on doing many videos about it and stuff because that's once again a little hypocritical. But a discussion video like this, every 6 months or something like that, it's not a big deal. That being said, I don't keep up. Like, I'm not on the edge of my seat waiting for the chapter to drop or anything like that, as I said. So it's sort of, as I said, my interest is still lower than it once was for the series, but I do think that the fight's been going well, as we said at the beginning of the stream. I do like what's been going on with Yuta and Yuji teaming up, and now Maki jumping into the fray. I like Yuta's domain. I like a lot of the current stuff that's going on, at the very least in the last couple chapters. So, really quick, Jobber has 2 more things to say. There's no clapping sound effect in that spread, just the clang sound of the sword slicing Kenny's neck. Apparently, that clang sound or clapping noise was in the page, and it's the same kanji or something like that, from what I was told. Once again, I don't read Japanese, so I can't tell you if it's the same. And Jobber said, Maki's mom got her throat slit. She didn't seem like a sorcerer to be able to use CE. Then the fact of the matter is, don't stab him then. He was bleeding out anyway. So for all she knew, Maki had stabbed her with the sword so he wouldn't come back as a cursed spirit. And so even if Maki hadn't fucked up, the mother fucks up anyways. It doesn't make any sense. And actually, that whole thing with Maki's mother didn't make any fucking sense. She gets her throat slit by her daughter who hated her, and so she's thinking she's making amends by killing the guy who was bleeding out that Maki already stabbed. That whole thing didn't make sense. So, anyways, but yeah, that's the end of the stream. Thanks everyone for joining. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you all back here next time. Have a good one, everyone. Sayonara.
Adieu.